Hey guys, be very welcome for the first work party between Utopia, Sensorica, Manufacturetron. I will be able to speak that better, and whatever Louding is up to, right? It's called WISP at the moment. I think it's going to call WISP, right? Louding is going to talk about the WISP project, right? So we don't have TB now here, but he's going certainly come along with us. And today we're going to take I think that we need a little introduction. I don't know to better, let's say, understand what is utopia, understand what is sensorica, understand what is manufacturing. Okay, so we can deep dive in the sequence, and in the Gitcoin environment platform. Okay, if you guys agree, that will be it. So let's start with you, Anthony. Feel free, man. Talk about a
Sure.
little bit about manufacturing. I think Atus and Guilherme doesn't have a clue about it. Me and Lauren already have some clue. So go on, man.
Okay. Can I just ask, what's the relation to Gitcoin again? We're going to try to figure out how to fit Gitcoin into our system.
Yeah, yes. We're going
Okay.
to see how we're going to understand how Gitcoin platform works,
Okay.
and is how we can have we're starting to have an interface with it,
Okay.
at least with Utopias and Taudao. It already has an interface, and it's going to be nice how to see how your endeavor and Sensorica will have an interface too. So feel free to talk about your endeavor, man.
Okay. That sounds great. Yeah, like I said before, I think about it a great deal, but I don't talk about it that much. It's hard to find collaborators, right? There's just not that many people. In a way, there is an enormous industry on the subject of 3D printing and manufacturing, but there's just not very much innovation, I guess, at least not at a low level. I've tried posting in 3D printing groups and stuff. I said, hey, I got this idea. What do you think of it? And they're just like, oh, it sounds expensive. It's going to be hard to do. And that's all they said. So it's it's a method for manufacturing mechanical parts, which is its goal, its purpose is very much the same as 3D printing. That is, the cost per part is relatively low. The cost to make different parts is quite low, the so-called retooling cost. And you can make small batches relatively easily. So we can do our prototypes. We can also like do small production runs of open source hardware of various kinds. Can be bicycles, can be like Stirling engines for harvesting solar power, can be machines that for digging, can be farm machines for permaculture and all kinds of stuff like that. It's basically there's the abstract process, which is involves depositing material and then removing it with this rotating cutting tool. And you remove the material very precisely, and then you deposit more material, and you build up your object like that. But so the abstract process can be scaled up to fairly large sizes. Like if you want to make a tractor chassis or something, you want to make a fairly large object. You wouldn't really want to make a house with it because it's just not suitable for that purpose. Like house doesn't have to be very accurate, and you're going to make a house out of different kinds of materials. But if you wanted to make a car chassis or a tractor chassis, then you might be able to do that even. That's like in the quite distant future. We're talking about, for now, we're talking about a kind of a smaller machine. See if I can share my screen again for Athos and Guillaume, so you have an idea of what we're talking about here. Um, you take a router. Have you guys heard of a router? A CNC router? Never heard of a CNC router? Okay, it looks like this. Let me share my screen here.
I'm sorry if I sound like an idiot, but is a router different than a router?
No, they're the same thing. It's just pronunciation.
Okay.
Yeah. Then a milling machine is basically the same thing as a router. It's just that routers are for soft material. So can you guys see this? So this is the machine. There's the spindle, the rotating thing where the rotating cutting tool goes. And the rotating cutting tools look like drill bits. So you can see it can move around, and the object that you're going to cut goes over here on the bed, right? And so What's not shown here is that I need to make an apparatus for depositing material too. And I have on the Sensorica website, I showed just a kind of the sort of thing. It's not a great.
Chibi,
I showed a
Chibi is already with us. Hey, Chibi.
Hey everyone.
How's it going? I'm trying to explain Rugged Mac in a reasonable way. I want to show the picture that I have on Sensorica. I did a rendering of because when I was in Norway, I did some design work on it. I did some CAD and some experimenting in the laboratory. And
go to the Sensorica website, go to Sensorica and do a search there.
Okay.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah. Oops. Oh, that must be the old one.
No, it's good. And just do a search.
There we go. Sorry.
No, because because you have to do a search on the website.
Yeah, here we go.
Yeah. The links changed because I changed the root of.
But I used to call it Rugged Mac, which was it was an acronym, and everybody told me it was a terrible name, so I kind of changed the name. But where's my picture? It's gone. Oh well.
It should be there. No, I mean, did you delete it or?
No.
Yeah, it was a bad name.
Yeah. Yeah. Nobody liked that name. It's the first time you've heard it, and you already say it's a bad name. Where's my products? No. No.
Yeah, go down. Projects.
Yeah.
No, projects. And then go to ventures. Sorry, ventures. That's what changed.
Oh yeah.
Click on ventures on the top.
Yeah. Let's see. Important to say to Atos and Guilherme
robotics.
That, whatever Anthony has been doing as an endeavor is an open source one, so it means
click on robotics.
Yes, it means that it can be reproduced anywhere in the world. And related to Utopia, it can be a very good tooling for communities, for indigenous tribes and things like that. So this is something very interesting because it's a hardware dimensions, right? Not only the software dimension, but the hardware dimension too. So.
Yeah, sorry, I'm wasting time. I'm not really giving a great explanation. But here, can you see that picture? It's kind of small. Open.
Yeah, totally.
Here we go. It's a bigger picture. Okay, so here's the spindle, the rotating cutting tool. And there's going to be like a magazine of cutting tools. Like you got like 10 different tools, and the spindle can automatically change between smaller ones and larger ones. And then here we have like, this was my, at the time, this was the proposed deposition apparatus. It was, you've got a magazine for powder over here and another magazine for a different powder over here. And they have little dispensing mechanisms down here. There's a stepper motor there. And so what it does is the whole thing comes over this way. It moves over this way until it's over this black pad here and deposits some powder. And then it can actually turn the powder into a solid through pressure and ultrasound. And that method was kind of looking a little bit complicated. I remember years and years ago, I said to Tiberius, I wanted to use graphite powder and just urea, like, or salt or something like and these two powders, you put the graphite down in a thin rectangular layer, or in this case, circular layer, and like a millimeter thick, right? Or it can be up to a centimeter thick or so. And then you're going to go with the rotating cutting tool and you're going to cut an indentation, like whatever the bottom of the object is. And then you're going to fill that indentation in with urea or salt. And then you're going to put it under pressure and turn it into a solid. Then, so you've got a build material, which is the graphite, and you've got a support material, which is the urea. And so by doing this with layer after layer, it doesn't look like it, it's not obvious, but it turns out that if you look at the details, you can make any geometry you want. even with overhangs and even with very precise details. So I always have difficulty explaining it because there's like 5 different stages and they sort of interact quite a bit. But does that make sense mostly to people? You put a layer of material down, the build material, and then you cut away with the rotating cutting tool. And then you put
Which is on the right.
Sorry?
Which is on the right.
Yeah, the rotating cutting tool is over here. This little thing here. Can you see my mouse cursor?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see it sticking out there. It's not very big, but so I keep looking for somebody to do an animation. I went to the Fab 16 conference and there was a guy there who said he was going to help me do an animation, but I never heard back from him again. So
Yeah, we could in the mutual access dynamics, we could do this animation in Taldau's environment, right? Because there are animators there. So
okay.
can do digital animation there. So let's go.
Okay, that would really help. Yeah. So but you're depositing one layer of build material, another layer of support material, and then you repeat this process. And it's a lot like 3D printing, except that each layer is cut with this rotating cutting tool. Instead of being shaped by the precise deposition of just putting the material exactly where you want it, you're going to go the other direction. You're going to put like a whole large layer down, and then you're going to cut away the material that you don't want. And the layer is also 3-dimensional. It's not like with 3D printing, the layer is only 2-dimensional. So you get these stair steps on the side, you get these ridges on the side of 3D printed objects. I don't know if you guys are familiar with 3D printing, but that's what always happens with this process. You don't have that problem. So yeah, the point is that you can make precise objects of whatever shape you want. So you can go in your CAD software and you can draw whatever you want, and then with full confidence that you can make it out of fairly strong materials, because the mold can be filled with all kinds of good stuff. You can even use ceramics and glass or rubbers, but more importantly, we're going to be using fiber reinforced plastics. You can use carbon fiber reinforced plastics. They're almost as strong as some alloys of aluminum, but they're pretty cheap and they copy the mold perfectly. So that's probably going to be our first candidate. So yeah, it's like the purpose is it's a lot like 3D printing in terms of what it's supposed to be able to do. But 3D printing was never able to really do what we wanted it to do. If you search around for some of the dreams and hopes that people had for 3D printing, they were talking about shortened supply chains, much shorter prototyping processes, the ability to economically make short-run products of various kinds. And they're only mechanical projects. You can't make electronics and you can't make textiles, and there's all kinds of stuff you can't do with 3D printers. So this is that applies to Rugged Mac as well, or Manufacturetron. But there's a lot you can do, and it's going to open up a lot of doors, because throughout the industrial ecosystem, if you suppose you want to make a little chemical engineering factory, there's these guys who are doing some really interesting work there where they're trying to make really expensive drugs at a small scale, like drugs that cost like $10,000 a month for HIV treatment and stuff, and you can't get them because it's just profit margin, but they're not actually that hard to synthesize. So these guys are making like small chemical engineering reactors, but they're trying to do it all with 3D printing, and they're running into major problems because they can't make parts that are as accurate as they need to be, and they can't get the details that they need, and they're really hamstrung in the geometries that they can make and the materials they can use. And a lot of those barriers are going to be swept away as Manufacturetron gets more developed. So you can see it's a long development process. The first stage is going to be to make parts out of carbon fiber reinforced polymer. And then the next stage will be to expand our variety of different materials that we can use in the mold. And then we may change the deposition methodology. Right now I'm looking at probably using a gypsum derivative. It doesn't expand or contract when you deposit it, and that's a really big deal actually. And there's also, that would be the support material. And then the build material is this material called monocalcium aluminate, which is used in the refractories industry. It's a similar idea to plaster of Paris. You mix it with water, it reacts with the water and turns into a solid. So it's just like, I can just do this by hand. I don't even need that apparatus, the deposition apparatus. I can just stand there for a couple hours and do it all by hand, and then I can make some demonstration parts. So once I get some demonstration parts, I can show that it makes more sense. I can make a video of the process so that it's all clear. Everybody knows how it works. Because it sounds kind of abstract. But
you can use a CNC and do just half of the thing by hand, and just put the layer by hand and use the CNC to have your
to do the what?
machine.
Do what part?
But you have two processes. You have the layer deposition and
Yeah.
the CNC. So instead of doing everything by hand,
Yeah,
as a proof of concept, you can do the deposition, I mean the layer spreading by hand, and have the CNC, have access to a CNC to do the carving,
yeah.
right?
That's what I mean. Yeah, sorry if I wasn't clear. That's what I mean. I am going to buy a CNC machine tool. And
Yeah.
for the near term, I'm not going to have the automatic tool changer, because the automatic tool changer is another $1,500.
Mhm.
So I'll probably just use one tool. But yeah, I don't want to be taking too much time if I'm not really getting anywhere.
So what is the purpose? You wanted to talk about this in conjunction to some crowdfunding on Gitcoin, or?
Yeah. Let me lay out again what are we doing here, right?
Yeah.
First of all, this is the first work party of the Wealth Transfer Initiative, or Wealth Sharing Initiative, whatever. And in this sense, I am related to Taodao, as you guys know, and Utopia too. I'm the co-creator of both endeavors, right?
Yeah.
Both organic interactive endeavors, decentralized endeavors. And Atus is related to Utopia, and Guilherme is related to Utopia too. So Guilherme is looking at the organic organizational dynamics and process, and through O2 lenses and other lenses too. He can talk a little bit about this. And Atus is well related to the technology side of it, right? Especially related to Web 3.0, right? And dApps and things like that. So they are both related to this dynamics in Utopia that are very relevant and important for Utopia to be able to expand, right? Expand as organic organization, and expand the Web3 technology for everyone, right? So they're here about that. I asked Anthony to make a synthetic presentation for them, him to get to know about manufacturing, because as we spoke in our last touchdown, we're going we are going to have we are going to be on Gitcoin's platform as a consortium, let's say. We're going to be together there, and it would be interesting to have this open hardware dimension on it, because this doesn't happen on Gitcoin yet, right? Gitcoin is not Kickstarter, right? Gitcoin has another way to, let's say, to fund projects and initiatives, but all related to DAOs and Web 3.0, right? And in this sense, when we talk about infrastructure for Web 3.0, right? People thinks about technology, right? The way that you can really expand people having the software, the boxes to become a node in the Web3, right? That's it. But it would be interesting to have this dimension of a project like this project that Anthony is trying to really put out there as an open source project, because in Utopia's dynamic, Tiberius, we're going to make a lot of hackathons all over Brazil, right? All over Brazil, in indigenous communities and countryside communities. And imagine having this project manufacturing being really appropriate, commons appropriated for these communities for whatever use they can do with this. So it's going to be a beautiful thing to see happening. I think that Anthony just make a little smile when I make this comment about it.
Yeah.
And imagine that we have this dimension, this very grassroots dimension that Utopia is going to start to have here in Brazil, and we have this institutional dimension related to grants and all this OVN thing that Sensorica does so beautifully. So imagine that we can come up with a bundle, we can come up with a consortium, let's say, that all this is related in Gitcoin. So this is the first, let's say, blueprint that we're going to try to make here come up together. So that's what we're trying to do here together today. See, and we're going to test this in Utopia's. We're going to test this in Gitcoin's platform, right? And but we can we don't need to be, let's say, only going to do this on Gitcoin platforms, because we can do this movements, you see, TB, in Sensorica's environment too, right? uh, because this is already happening with Anthony, right? With the manufacturer, when he's sharing what he's doing, and the guys all over the Sensoricans are taking a look at the project. Is we can do this movement with Photopia too in Sensoric environments for everyone to take a look and wow, I want to be part of this. I want to energize a role. So I know it sounds confusing and chaotic, but that's it. That's it. It's confusing and then it's chaotic. We're going to find the chaotic thing as we co-create together. So that's the tone of this first work party. But it would be nice, TB, if you share a little bit with Guilherme and Atus, Sensorica environment and the OVN, as Anthony already done with the manufacturer, and we can go in the sequence to Gitcoin platform to take a look together.
Yes. What do you want me to show? I didn't understand the whole.
About Sensorica, I think they don't have the understanding that me and Laurin and Anthony has about Sensorica. Going to be It's going to be nice to level their understanding about Sensorica proposal and environments, so we can
Yes. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Sure. No problem. Yeah, I can share screen here if you. Let's see. Perfect. Share. Okay. So. Yeah. So this is the Sensorica website. Best thing is to show it from the environment. Well, the Sensorica is an environment, okay, and we try to. It is a physical environment. The picture here that you see is the lab. I'm in the lab now. You can watch my camera also. So I'm in the Sensorica lab. So Sensorica is has physical environments and virtual environments, and so these are environments where we collaborate. So like any environment, Sensorica is also designed for a specific type of activity. Okay, so you have to have a hospital, which is an environment for healthcare. It is designed by specialists to provide that particular type of activity, right? Well, Sensorica is also designed for to collaborate. Okay, and so the physical space as well as the virtual space, we're trying to design it so that it enhances collaboration. It enhances the work that people do together by sharing their ideas, sharing the outcomes, sharing the ventures. So it's built on this peer-to-peer, commons-based peer production. If these are big words for you, are you familiar with commons-based peer production?
Yeah, a little bit.
Commons-based peer production. Okay. So Yokai Benkler, The Wealth of Networks, he talks a lot about commons-based peer production, which is a new mode of production. Open source software and hardware, it's an example of commons-based peer production. Wikipedia is an example of commons-based peer production, which is people getting together and collaborating to create something that belongs to everyone. Okay, and what we have done with Sensorica is trying to add an economic layer so that work becomes sustainable. Okay, so you participate to Wikipedia, but you don't get any tangible rewards. You just do that for other purposes, right? But who's going to pay your rent? So we're creating this new economic model for some type of activities that lead to some form of rewards, some form of tangible revenue. Okay, so having said that, this is what the Sensorica environment looks like. Um, First of all, when you go to the website, you should see this is a stigmergic environment. This is how we define this type of environment is a stigmergic environment for synergistic open innovation, leveraging collective intelligence. And these are not empty words. Okay, when we write stuff, we usually write stuff that we do. Stigmergic environment, meaning that there is no control and how do you say control and command. Sensorica is not a corporation. Sensorica doesn't have a boss. It's a network, okay, of individuals, and the organizing principle is stigmergy. It's not centralized control and planning. Okay, so when we do projects and we do the planning, it's all done in a stigmergic way. So it's an environment that encourages stigmergy. Okay, stigmergy is coordination by using your environment to leave traces about what you have done, etc. So the environment is designed for stigmergy, meaning you have a lot of places where to leave digital traces for people to know what to do next. So it's a stigmergic environment for synergistic open innovation, meaning there's a lot of projects that are in Sensorica. They all work in synergy with each other. Okay, one feeds from the other. It's like a forest. Okay, meaning projects are not independent from each other. They're not silos. The environment is synergistic, which means that there are tools that allow projects to exchange resources, people, ideas. Everything is made for exchange. Everything is made for blending. Okay, a non-synergistic environment is an environment of little islands. Okay, where things cannot cross, cannot bridge. Okay, that is not a synergistic environment. There is no synergy there. It's just islands. And we have a lot of incubators of startups that are not synergistics. These people are not communicating with each other. The environment is not designed so that it facilitates communication and exchange, right? So it's a stigmergic environment, okay, where the planning and everything goes through stigmergy, and a synergistic environment. And we leverage collective intelligence, meaning that we are documenting stuff, we're leaving information behind so that we develop a shared understanding, okay? And what we think is important is that everybody to understand the whole picture so that we build collective intelligence and then we leverage collective intelligence. It's not compartmentalized. Everybody has its own role and there is no exchange of information between different roles in the network. You know, the idea is to build a shared understanding and to leverage that collective intelligence. Okay, so these are not empty words. Okay, now the environment, if you look at the building, it has rooms, it has, you know, pathways and stuff. We look at the website of Sensorica, you can navigate this environment. We have a forum where we can communicate, like a Discord, for example. Ventures are these projects, okay, and they're in different categories. We have food projects, we have urban projects, we have healthcare projects, we have scientific instrument projects, but these are not just projects, we call them ventures. Okay, the difference between a venture and a project is that, oh, I have a hardware project. And then you just go on a wiki page and describe how you do this machine. That is a hardware project. A venture is like, what do you do now with the machine that you built it? What do you do with it? A venture is, well, I'm gonna push it out for people to use it, to build it, to use it. I'm gonna create an economic ecosystem based on this. That is the difference between a project and a venture. A project is just, I'm putting something together and I'm making a video to show people how to do it. But that's it. There is no economic engine that is built with that thing. There is no organization around and the, how do you say, the goal of disseminating the solution, okay, and sustaining that solution in the environment. Okay, so we call them ventures, not just projects, because people don't understand that. And then you have communities, which are Sensorica is a community. So communities are different groups that organize within the Sensorica environment. Okay, and these groups have their own projects. So Good Labs is an example of a small group that have these ventures or projects. Call them ventures. Okay, yeah. So, for example, one that is pretty nice. Breeding games. It's a good community that has been highly integrated with Sensorica in the past. Now they are more independent, but they were nested inside the Sensorica environment for many years, and now you can actually go to their website. They have their own website, Breeding Games, and we still have their hardware here, and we work together. Okay, so let's go back to Sensorica here. So you have ventures, you have communities that have ventures also, and you have the entire ecosystem. We think about how to build these bridges and create these wormholes. So the ecosystem. Whoops, something is wrong here. Am I charging my computer? Wait a second, guys. I don't want my computer to.
Yeah.
Okay. Am I charging my computer or?
Sounds like a flaky connection.
Yeah, and my connection is like. Oh, you can hear the noise, or? Okay, I'm supposed to be plugged in, but. Okay, let's not touch this.
It's going to shut down on you.
I think that is Neo from the Matrix has made in contact with you.
Yeah. It's no, I have another charger here, so I can plug this one in, but because my computer is gonna collapse pretty soon. There you go.
The laboratory looks the same as it did when I was there. I thought you moved to a different premises.
Not yet.
Not yet. Oh, okay.
No. Okay, now it works. Okay, so yeah, so ecosystem, it's a reflection. How do we connect this network with other networks? Okay, not to just communities, but other networks. How do we weave connections between all these networks so that there's a new world emerging? Okay, because the pattern here is how do you say, it is fractal. Okay, so you have ventures, which are networks, small networks. You have communities, which are networks that have subnetworks, which are ventures. Okay, and then you have these communities and other networks, okay, that must connect to each other too. And how do we connect that? Well, you know, some people say, let's build a super platform and have everybody on this platform. That will never be realized. Okay.
Yeah, Lauren mentioned that last time.
Yeah, and so the whole idea here is to
That was very funny.
to organically build bridges along these networks, you know, based on their type of affiliation, and that's what we're constantly trying to do here, to extend this fractal towards, you know, a higher dimension, so that we can integrate this new peer-to-peer economy. Then you have products or deliverables of these projects. Some of them you see here, stuff that Sensorica can produce on, or if somebody orders a little machine like this, we can make it for them, and that's engaging with the classical market. Okay. So that's about it. A bit of media. You know, we're trying to diffuse content from Sensorica out there, but that's how the organization is set up. Okay, so
it would be nice. It would be nice, Chibi, to talk about the outreach services or outreach backing, community backing, where OCAS experience is going to be one of the first things that we're going to do with the outreach related to Sensorica's outreach, right? So
yeah. So before that, I just want to mention that ventures, you know, we're talking about here about how do you source, how do you bring resources to these ventures so that they can develop, they can, you know, ventures, they need resources to function. They're living organisms like us. We need to eat in order to be able to do something. Well, ventures need resources, need people, need space, physical space, need machines like 3D printers and stuff like Anthony's doing, and because some of these sources that we need, we need money to get them. Well, we need also money. So how do you get these resources into ventures so that they can develop? So one thing to see here is all these different type of ventures, okay, that the environment nurtures, okay. So somebody can come and say, I am good at getting funding. That's what I do. I know how to communicate a value proposition. I know how to sell a project. I know how to get crowdfunding. I know how to get grant money for these ventures, so on and so forth. So for example, here's a project, Greens for Good. It's about making a machine to extract proteins from plants. This is a project that has been seed funded already. We have some money. And so just an idea about how these ventures that are nurtured within this environment look like. Okay. I think it's a good idea. So this is, this is the lowest building block of this kind of open network. Okay. You have ventures, communities, and then the whole Sensorica network, and then connections to the ecosystem, right? But this is the lowest network within this network of networks, right? Which is we call it an open venture. So this is how it looks like. You can join it, you can finance it, you can get some gigs if you want, $2,700 for 3D modeling. You can start writing grant proposals and make 10 to 5% of the money that you bring in for the project. And then you have some descriptions about the objective of the project. You can go in and look at it. This is where we communicate for this project. This is where we plan the project. It has different kind of departments, let's say, notes. Okay, these are milestones within the project. You can take a look at the notes. You can see some videos that have been produced. Take a look at the budget, and this is the repository of documents. Talking about StigMerge, everything is documented. StigMerge and Synergy, and everything is documented and shared with any other project and venture within Sensorica. Just to dive under the hood of this project, okay. If somebody wants to finance or help finance this project, you have metrics about how the project is going in real time. So, for example, you have the budgeting of the project here. You can see how the budget is allocated, the money that we have now. We still have remaining $10,000 for this project as of today. The budget, initial budget was 16 for seed funding of the project, 16,000. We spent 36% of it, and this is how much we spent. Then you see the planning. Then you see how people are participating in the project. You see everybody and what everybody is doing in the project. You see who's contributing the most hours into the project. You see some other type of partners like academic partners in the project, and so you can see in real time. These are metrics. We're pulling from the data of participation to see how the project is doing, okay, and how the project is burning money. So everything is recorded, okay. So this is interesting because all the ventures in Sensorica are accountable, okay. And auditable, meaning you have real-time information about how money is spent, which is huge for people that want to invest in this kind of enterprises. An open venture means open books, so you can look under the hood and see who's doing what and how these people are spending money in real time. Okay, so this is good for impact investors. Impact investors, if they want to spend money on open source projects like that, this is good because they see exactly how the money is spent. There's a lot of projects that are very opaque. You just threw money in, and there is no way for you to see in real time how the money is spent. Okay, well, the Sensorica environment provide the tools for that kind of transparency. Okay, why? Because people, when they do work, they log their contributions in this kind of systems here. That we use for
And
Sensorica.
these tools are open for, it's culturally open for anyone to learn how to use them, and even contribute to evolve the way that this kind of tools, right, Chibi,
Yeah.
to evolve it or to aggregate new perspectives and
Yeah.
and to evolve it as a whole.
What we've done now is to say, well, Sensorica is a sort of an incubator of ventures that have a very strong that have, you know, that are driven around purpose. Okay, they have a very strong purpose drive, let's say, and they have impact. They're impactful projects or ventures. And so not only that, but the environment provides total transparency into these projects. And there is that synergy, meaning if we develop something for one project in food, somebody else that has a project in food can take it and use it as well. Okay, so if we develop some sensor or some hardware for green sense, we can use it in the food lab, or we can use it in the green lab, or anybody can use it in any other project. Okay, and then you can see how projects evolve. So it's a very different ecosystem or incubator, because it has that synergy, it has that capacity of recycling stuff. Okay, but at the same time, it has full transparency and auditability. So everybody knows what we do with the money. And then you realize that people that come and set up ventures in Sensorica, they're not necessarily good with funding their ventures. Okay, usually these are technical people, and they have technical skills, but they don't have entrepreneurial skills, and they don't know how to sell their stuff. Okay, and they're not good at getting funding. So what we thought was, well, let's create some services for the ecosystem. Okay, or some sort of support mechanisms for the ecosystem, for the Sensorica ecosystem. So if you go to now, one way to reach it is to go to services page, which is probably not a good way to reach it, but here's the financing. So we call this funding community services, meaning anybody can come and set up within the Sensorica environment and say, I have skills to fund projects. I know how to write funding proposals. I know how to drive outreach, crowdfunding campaigns. Okay, I'm not a technical person, but I'm successful in selling good ideas. Okay, I'm successful in gathering support for good ideas. Okay, so that's the perfect symbiosis. You know, so here, go to ventures and find ventures that you believe in, that you think are interesting, and some of these ventures you might find that they're just, you know, they're not going far because people in there, they don't have the skills to gather resources, and you know, so then you can go and offer your help. Okay, so this is what we mean by funding community services. You offer services to a community or to the entire ecosystem if you want to scale to go to other projects online, you know, but you offer them your services to fund them, to bring money to them. And usually the arrangement is, okay, guys, I can bring you $100,000, you give me 5% or 10% or whatever the deal is, right? So there's an incentive for you to do that. So if there's somebody that has very good funding skills, you know, well, here's a place where you can find good projects, but also where you have full transparency. So you can turn back to your investors and say, look at this, look how these guys are going. You see what I'm saying? So I think it's a very good position for somebody that specializes in funding, because for one, you have good projects, and for two, you have good transparency to give back to your investors, which is a sort of you know, added value to investors. If you have, let's say, impact investors, where you tell them that you know, don't just trust me that this project is good. Everything is transparent. You can go there and look for it. I can show you how, and then you can see day by day how people are working and how they spend your money. So that's a plus. You know, that's really a plus. It allows this person that seeks for funding to have more success on both sides. Okay, so I think it's a good value proposition. But then, you know, as we learn doing this within the Sensorica environment, which is a smaller environment, we can jump to talk about funding ecosystem services, meaning somebody that walks around and finds a good open source project on GitHub. You see 5 people that are struggling to build something that has tremendous value, but they have no clue how to sell. Okay, so now that you have an arsenal of tools developed within this Sensorica environment, you can recycle yourself into these other ventures, to provide the service, and have the same kind of arrangements. So we can spread this to Utopia, we can spread this to other organizations out there. For the time being, we have some templates. So we're streamlining these services. So we have developed a sort of a workflow, we have developed a workflow. So we have some tools, okay? For example, I can show you this document here, how we go about it. But now this workflow is done for funding from traditional institutions. Okay, so assessment of the potential of the venture, working on the fundamentals of the venture, assessing the mission, vision, objectives. Maybe these people that have these open source projects, they haven't sat down to craft a mission, vision statement, to write down the objectives. This is good in order to craft a value proposition. Okay, when you go for funding, you need these fundamentals to write the story. Okay, and then you have to build communication materials. You need what's his name? Anthony was talking about needing some people to do an animation. Well, that's a communication material. It's a type of a communication material. How can you sell your stuff just by explaining with your hands in the air like this? It doesn't work. So it's a technical device. It's highly complex. So if you have a nice animation done, there's people that are skillful in doing that. So preparing communication materials, pictures, text, videos, 3D animation, and all that. Once you're armed with these resources, then you go and find funding opportunities. Who's funding this type of projects? And you list them, and then you prioritize this list, and then you collaborate to you might find some other collaborators in the ecosystem, some other people that are doing similar things. They might want to jump in with you. Maybe an academic lab wants to back you up. Maybe an ONG, a nonprofit organization wants to back you up and wants to connect you with some communities that will use your device. So build this collaboration. Everything I'm saying here, we're doing it within this Greens for Good.
Yeah, I think it's a good little project to streamline and make sure everything's good working.
Yeah, so we already do this for this project, and also do it for rope making pretty soon. And then executing the funding campaign, meaning writing funding. Just a second, Anthony. So then you write funding proposals, and we have a crowdfunding methodology. If it's about crowdfunding, we have a document to follow step by step. How do you do a crowdfunding? Okay, well, we have a template right here. So that's a tool in the box for people that work on funding. Okay, so you just have to follow all these steps. Okay, before the campaign, you do this, and then you build your community around your project, tell the story of the challenge, make a video, blah, blah, blah. You just have to go step by step and check these boxes, and you end up with a crowdfunding campaign. Or if you want to write a grant proposal, you also have a template. So you see how we have a sort of a method, okay, which is not set in stones, but let's say it's a method that emerged from the work within Sensorica, with this idea of collaboration and transparency and stigmergy. So all these concepts are built into these tools, right? So you can ask somebody for a crowdfunding template or manual, and if it comes from a startup or from a company, because there's a lot of classical company that crowdfund their stuff, if it comes from a company, it would look much different than the one from Sensorica, because it's not written with the same mentality of transparency and collaborative work, right?
But I have to admit, TB, it does look, it's kind of difficult to navigate, even keep up. Like when we go to the Sensorica homepage, finding this template document, for instance, it's difficult. You know what I'm saying? Like it's kind of a long path. And it's not like when I tried to do some stuff on the centrifuge, right? And I thought, well, I should go and log my work.
Yeah.
I really couldn't figure out how to do that. I mean, maybe I'm just not looking hard enough or something. And like you say, there's a certain skills to the collaborative process. That's true. And the Green for Good, as that proceeds, we're going to get a bunch of people who know how to do it, and they can go back and write document like an introductory document, right? But we don't have that yet.
Yes, yes. Well, finding stuff, it's always a problem, but it's an inherent problem. And sometimes there are no solution to these problems. You know, you get lost in a building, you get lost in a park, you always get lost anywhere. You know, so look, for example, you worked on you know, we don't need a map. We just need to understand the logic in a space. If you parachute me in the middle of Beirut, I'll get lost. And you can give me a map and I can navigate. But the best thing is to learn how things are set up in these countries. Okay, it's to learn the logic, the cultural, the logic behind the culture. Okay, and that requires time. It requires time. Okay, so here's the logic within the Sensorica. You worked on hardware, which is part of deliverables, because this is where the R&D is done. And if you just open that document, on every page, you find the link to log your contribution. Okay, on every page. See, so it's just about learning. It's not that the sign is not there. It's just about learning the logic of this particular environment. Okay, so I'm working on hardware. It's a deliverable. You know, when you go to the page.
Would you say finding out by experience the working patterns of Sensorica? Would you say that way, Tibi? Finding out the working pattern?
Every environment, every community has some patterns, you know what I'm saying? And you say, well, put that information so that I can find it. Guess what? Everybody wants some information to jump in their face when they go to the website. That means that this page becomes extremely complex, that you cannot find anything. So you can't put everything in front of everybody, because then it becomes a mess and you cannot find anything. So you know what I'm saying? There is what do you put first so that you can see immediately, and how you drill down to find the second, third, fourth order stuff. Okay, and that is the challenge of UX UI design. How do you build the user experience? Okay, and there is no magic bullet, and there is no mystery. There's no magic. There's no magic here. At some point, you got to get accustomed. That's, you know, accustomed. Getting accustomed is a process. It's like you immigrate in a new country. It's like you move to a new town. It takes time to get accustomed. You know what I'm saying? It's like there is no immediate answer for everything. You see what I'm saying? But today we live in this environment where we expect to get something within 2 seconds. You know, we just go on Google, boom, and we get an answer. You know what I'm saying? So we live with this false impression that everything has to be that simple. But most of the time it's an illusion, because when you do that search on Google, how do you know you found the best thing? You know, Google shows you the some choices, but is that the best thing that you were actually looking for? You know, Google is hiding a lot of stuff and is promoting a lot of stuff based on their algorithms, which are not necessarily based on what you need. So what I'm trying to say is that sometimes it's a false expectation that we have built, because these corporate platforms that's so skillful in making you believe that you found exactly what you need. You see, there's a difference in making somebody believe that they found exactly what they need and the actual finding something that you really need. You see, so there's the skill of showing you something and making you believe that that's the best thing that you can ever find. You know, there's a skill of, you know, there's a skill. Even if you go, when you go to the store and buy shoes, you're gonna walk out of there thinking that you bought the best shoes, because the salesman is gonna make you believe that. You know what I'm saying? That's precisely his job. So you're gonna walk out happy so he can come back. But anyway, I'm ranting here, but there's some truth in that. Is that at some point we need to realize that there is something which is like getting accustomed to something, you know, and that's what it is. It's impossible to do better. It's just impossible.
Tibi, that said, How do you how do you see the OCAS experience pattern, the decentralized pattern of OCAS experience, having interwoven with Sensorica's environment? How do you feel that the pattern, how OCAS experiences outreaches to any other environment? It's already a touching point, is already a common ground to Sensorica's environment.
Well, you know, the best thing we came up with, Vinicius, it's this building bridges idea. Okay, at one extreme you say let's everybody be on the same platform, okay, which will never work. Um, and on the other side, I think the opposite side is to build weak bridges among different communities, among different networks. The problem with that is that you need to get accustomed to every little place, meaning you don't have a unified user experience when you jump from the Sensorica environment to Utopia. So for example, you go on Sensorica, okay, and you jump to, oh, I don't have a link for Utopia, but let's say we jump to Gush. So, okay, so you're in the Sensorica, on the Sensorica planet. Okay, let's use this metaphor. You are on the Sensorica planet because we're here, right? And we want to teleport ourselves to the Gush planet. So we have a sort of a portal that brings us, lands us somewhere in the Gush world, which is a link. It's as stupid as that. It's a link. And but here, you see, here things are very different. So now I'm faced to a new culture. I'm faced to a new culture here. These are people that come mostly from academia. These are not hackers. They're people that mostly come from academia that are turned hackers. Okay, so you have that science/open science culture here. It's not the maker culture like in Sensorica. Okay, maker peer-to-peer culture. So you're teleported into another world. Okay, now how can we do better? I don't know, Vinny, but there's
That's why we're here.
yeah, we can do better because listen, if you go from Canada to the United States, the different countries, slightly different cultures, but when you walk into a Canadian mall shopping center and you walk into an American shopping center, you know how to navigate because the signs are similar. The signs are similar and the architecture is somewhat similar, which comes from the capitalist consumerist culture. Okay, it's embedded into these structures. So you know, even if you're in Canada, even in France, if you walk to a shopping center in France, you will probably find your way because there's the same logic, right? Same thing with airports. You know, it's you know, it's different, but it's kind of the same because there is people talking to each other and coordinating user experience. Okay, they're saying, well, let's agree that this is a sign for finding the toilet, and let's agree that this is a sign for finding an escalator. You know, so already if we have this symbolic language that we can agree, which doesn't have to look exactly the same, but somehow it's, you know, so we can do a lot of work together so that we can, you know, create a sort of a bring together user experience, you know what I'm saying, so
Yeah,
that people cannot get completely lost.
yeah, we're going to create common grounds, right?
Yes.
And they're not permanent; they're impermanent. They can evolve. They can become other common grounds, right? Very in a very organic fashion. So
Yeah.
that was very nice. I don't know if Atus and Guilherme have some questions for you, and even have some questions for Anthony because we just we heard Anthony and you just jump in and share all this stuff. So it's going to be nice to ask to Atus and Guilherme if they have some questions, And I will ask in the sequence Atos and Guilherme to talk about Utopia because I already talk about it, but it's going to be nice for you guys to add your perspective about Utopia, and Tiberius and Anthony and Lauren hear about that too. So feel free, guys.
Well, first, um, about Sensorica, I already have a great look at this website and this ecosystem, but uh, this last explanation was very clarifying. Thank you, TB. I think we resonates. I think we are resonance together, you know, because as we see, um, we are talking about infrastructure also. Um, Vinicius told, have you talked about the default grid system to various? Are you a little bit aware of it?
Uh,
Maybe?
Feel free to talk about it again. No problem. Right.
Okay. I think it would be better if I share my screen. Are you seeing my screen?
Yes, yes.
We're starting to run on this threefold grid system. It's basically like nodes.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start with Utopia. Utopia is at the first we're starting with an application, a web application and mobile application at the first, and will be a regenerative. How am I supposed to say? We have to inspire people, you know, because there's a lot of people doing great things, and we just have to connect together, and you know, and this approach from the application is like regenerative content and learning tracks about food, organic food, everything is regenerative in any sphere, in any atmosphere. But this is only one part because this is just one app. But we're talking about a whole ecosystem because everything is connected, you know, everything is connected. And we started to think about the supply chain here, all the ecosystem we are in. If we are breathing, we share the same ecosystem. So we have to make this work and make this cycle work. We're talking about uh, making Utopia bigger than just an application. So it will be a DAO. It's already a DAO, and we're trying to use this system from threefold, this node and decentralized system, which offer for everyone to be part of the internet. Um, Today, all the internet is hosted by Microsoft and Amazon mostly, and no Google. They have certain data centers in specific place, specific buildings. Some of them is entire building of computers. And with this system, with threefold grid, we can have our hardware. You put our hardware, and you just need to put energy and internet cable. It doesn't work with Wi-Fi, but it's okay, and it's autonomous, and there's no man to contact with the hardware, so it less risk from hacker intervention or human mistake. I've been testing this system from about, let me say, I'm testing this system about 3 months now, and it totally works, and it's great. So every one of us can be part of the internet, and we plan do this DAO system and this maker and connect with other makers and other individual initiatives and community initiative to make them to let them know that it exists, you know, that we already have this possibility to build a peer-to-peer network right now. And we already have a financial system, a free financial system with cryptocurrencies and Web3 right now. You know, we already have the key for our, you know, we don't need to have modern slaves anymore. You know, so there's a lot of communities here in Brazil who desperate needs solutions of this way. And as you say, TV, every environment, every micro environment has its own specific needs and ways of doing things. And the elders have the most knowledge about it. Um, how am I supposed to say? I think we can connect these initiatives and communities with this with our ecosystem together. As I see, my only question is, what about the money in funding? You know, we are talking about the tokenomics of Utopia, and as I see, we have to make this cycle. You know, as if let me one example. When a stakeholder put money on a project and he wants a return for that, okay. But what if we talk about production, where people who makes a product and he can separate one part of his production to sell it with our currency, and okay, he will accept our currency to sell his products. And what he will can do with our currency? Buy from me from your supplier. You know, if my supplier accept the coin, also I don't need to change to my fiat currency, as I see. And wow, but that's a very big picture. You know,
So
we have to start smaller. You know, we have to
let,
make
let
this
me
work smaller.
let me run something through you here because here's an opportunity. Okay, I presented to you the funding community service. Here's the outreach community service, and I'll give you a straight example about how we did that with Sensorica. Okay, outreach community service. It also talks to entrepreneur to people that start projects. Okay, so if you're launching a project, a new project or a venture, you need to spread the word about it to attract resources and people. You also need to inform the people who will benefit from it. So you need to talk about your venture. You need to communicate your venture outreach to get more participation and also to get users, to get people that need whatever you produce, right? So this is again Greens for Good. And so here's a proposition for Utopia. How can Utopia interface with Sensorica? Okay, so again, you have all these ventures within the network that need communication. It just turns out that because not all the people with technical skills know how to communicate. Greens for Good, the project, had a budget for what we call building capacity. Okay, so if we go to Greens for Good, I'll show you Greens for Good dash. Oops, sorry. Greens for Good dash. Oh, what am I doing? Dashboard. Okay, there is a budget for outreach. So what I'm trying to say is that some ventures within the Sensorica environment that are funded have money for building capacity. Okay, there was a budget of $2,400 for outreach, essentially. Okay, and so that goes to who? That goes to people that do this kind of work, outreach work. Okay, so most of the money went to a guy called Sebastian that worked on outreach. Okay, so let's see what Sebastian has done for this kind of thing. So I'm going back to community services here, and I go to outreach. Okay, so Sebastian, you see Sebastian here, right? So we go full full circle here to see. That's Sebastian. Well, how does Sebastian do outreach work, communication work? How does he project information about the venture? He has a website. It's called Proofing Future. Okay, so he has an independent organization called Proofing Future. This could be Utopia. So this is the content making machine of Sebastian.
So where's his log though for his hours? I mean, that would tell us in detail exactly what he did, right?
Yes, yes, for sure. Yeah. So if I go to well, I can get the link right away from here. Capacity, and because he logged time in capacity, so let me click here and go to the thing, and you'll see Sebastian's logs, or I can go to Sebastian's NRP and see his logs. But here, if you look for Sebastian, you can find him. Sebastian, he logged into Digo participants. So he's gathering participants. He's doing metric social impact network, building campaign. Sorry?
It took him 3/4 of an hour to log into the spreadsheet. What did he do with the spreadsheet? Like, that's my question. Like, if somebody's trying to fund a project, they're going to want to know what he's doing, right?
Well, when you log into that spreadsheet, you can do a lot of work because it's not just logging. It's what he means is that he worked on the list of participants, which is right here, and you can sink hours and hours into this list here. Okay. This is, you can make calls, you can make you see Myson, Sebastian, TB, action items. So yeah, you can. There's a lot of tabs here.
When I've done sort of kind of funny odd job stuff where it wasn't clear what I was doing, I would make a spreadsheet and then I would put my hours, but I would have to add a note that explained in detail what I had done for those couple of hours, right? Like, I have to put a link in that shows I did something. A lot of people are going to make stuff up.
You're right. You're right. Yeah. So somebody can challenge this particular log of him because of the lack of more precise information. And that's
the video there. On August 2nd, he says, "Okay, I made a video. Here's the video." Well, that makes sense, right?
Yes.
And we can go and look at the video, and it's like, so hopefully it's a good video that's useful.
Yeah. You're right. So the rule in Sensorica is that you can challenge any log by raising a red flag, and then the guy can give you more. But anyway, so these are his logs, right? And this is what Sebastian has done. But let's continue the presentation here. So Sebastian has a content making machine, and he has a type of activity in content making, which is he knows how to make interviews. Utopia knows how to make videos, okay? But they know how to produce videos. Sebastian, with his Proofing Future, he knows how to conduct interviews. So this is what he does, okay? He writes these posts. Let's find here. Let's find one about greens for plant protein extractor. Okay, here. So that's what he does. So he makes content about the project. Okay, this is precisely the Greens for Good project. This is the project, the plant protein extractor. So Sebastian goes to Sensorica, finds a project that has $2,000 budget, and then he goes and among other things, he writes these interviews. This is in particular one is for in between Joshua Pierce, me.
Okay.
So he asks these questions, and he has this methodology, this procedure, he has these templates, he has this is a routine for him. Okay, so he asks a question, and then Joshua Pierce was a professor. He answers the question, and I answer the question, and then he asks another question, and we answer. So he has this interview methodology, and then he creates this content, puts it on a website, on his website, and then he goes to his LinkedIn page and puts it on LinkedIn, and he goes to Facebook and puts. So he propagates it. He puts it on Twitter. He creates content, puts it on his page, and then he propagates that through social media. What that does for the project is visibility in a way that is very nice. It's a sort of an interview methodology that he has developed. Okay, so you can see him as a community service provider for Sensorica. Sebastian, he has a methodology of conducting interviews and turning them into blogs, and then propagating these blogs to social media, and then he gets a lot of likes and a lot of shares and all that. So he's an outreach agent for the project. Okay, and his branding because he has his own branding. His branding is Proofing Future, which is also about regenerative kind of activities, right? So now people on the people side, they know Sebastian for publishing good content about good projects and impactful projects. Member testimonials. With Perfect Future, bridging people with ideas. I'm motivated to raise visibility, connectivity, and sustainability impact-driven entrepreneurs, sustainability, impact-driven entrepreneurs and organizations. So that's his branding. People know him on social media, that he publishes these contents, and through him they discover, connect people and ideas. They discover good ideas.
Okay.
They discover good projects.
So this is good. If he gets paid through Sensorica,
and he gets paid, but okay, he gets paid to Sensorica. But wait a second, because this is not all. This is not all, and I'm going to talk to the Utopia people. So then what he does is that when he creates these papers to put on social media, what him and I developed, just bear with me for 2 seconds. What him and I developed was that once you write this thing for the project, once you write it, you can mention some of our partners in the project. So you can go to participants for Green for Good, and you can look here, and there are some companies involved. Well, if you look for a private firm, okay, well, this is a company. This is a company that could work with the project, okay, and you can go to that company firm, another firm here, okay, Opting Solutions in Agri-Food. This is a company. So you can go to them and say, listen, I can mention your name in my paper that is seen by 2,000 people. Will you chip in more funding? So here's the secret, okay? So Sebastian has rent to pay and to feed his family. He has a kid. Okay, so how does he make some money to pay his rent and raise his kid? Well, he gets a bit of money from Sensorica for creating this content, the $2,000 that we have. And then he plugs in one of these partners to the project, okay, and asks them to give him more payment because 5,000 people will see this thing, okay. So you see that he creates an ecosystem, and he can get a bit from here and a bit from there and a bit from there, while nurturing his brand of connecting people with good ideas for sustainable development.
Yeah, but I don't know.
And it doesn't jump in your face as publicity, or what is it?
But approaching a company like that takes time and effort. And like when you divide it by 5,000 views, it's like companies only willing to pay 10 cents a view or something, right? So I don't know if that's going to pay very well for him.
Well, yes, company, they pay 10 cents a view when it's on YouTube, and it's not well targeted. But if you prove that you have a fellowship that is highly sensitive to certain topics, the click is worth more than, you know what I'm saying? So what is the quality of the viewer that you provide? Okay, and anyway, so these companies that participate in the project, they also look for improving the image, right? Oh, I'm helping this project of Sensorica because it's high impact, and they want people to look at them that they do that. So at some point, they want to use this material to show that they're a very good corporation, you know what I'm saying? And they use it for their own. It's not that people will see to buy their products, but they will use this media asset to prove their customers that they help sustainable projects. You see what I'm saying? So it's worth a lot more than a click. It's worth saying, hey, somebody's talking about us.
Yes, because it's endorsement. It's not only
Yes,
media.
exactly.
But the
Exactly.
thing is, Anthony, that what Chibi just shared with us is very well known. It's at least in the peer-to-peer world, and this is something. This mechanics, it has been done in the peer-to-peer world forever, but not in a so concise, so let's say, precise way. Let's say so organized and structured way like Sensorica does, right?
Yeah.
Uh, but the thing that we're doing here is not, we're going to experiment this, of course, TB, with Sensorica's environment, but what we're talking here is to do it in a very trustworthy environment where we're going to do all sorts of mutual accesses, right, to all sorts of needs. So, because what we want to try here is not, let's say, I don't want to know if Anthony or Loudon or you did or did or not did the work that he wants to do for the project that you're co-creating, right? The thing is that in within Taudao and within Utopia, there already has a trustworthy environment that nobody's checking no one's work because we already have an empathic environment that everybody is accessing all sorts of resources. Let's say when I said to Anthony, Anthony in Taudao's environment has people that know how to make digital animations, and if I share about manufacturing in Taudao's environment and say, well, manufacturing is let's say a open source endeavor, right? That has a regenerative footprint, and they want to spread this technology, this proposal throughout the world, right? Nobody's going to ask nothing about it. They're going to just go, wow, that's great. I want to do this, right? I want to do this. So here comes someone related to Taudao and going to really make contact with Anthony and brief Anthony. Anthony, how this works, how this, I'm going to do this animation. And he's not seeking for payment. He's not seeking for payment. He just wants to make this work because he understands that Anthony's proposal is something very important for the regenerative movement, for the peer-to-peer movement. Is very important for this footprint. So this is the difference. It's a huge difference. It's a huge difference. And that's why we're here together, because you see, the way that Sensorica works is very structured, very organizational. You can see to the detail what everybody is doing. You can check it out, right?
That's available.
I'm not saying that this is not going to this not going to happen. This not happens with Utopia or is going to happen with Taudao, right? We have all sorts of, let's say, feel how everybody is co-creating, everybody is putting its energy, it's materializing, is making things happening, right? But our challenge here is to create a common, a very organic, very trustworthy environment that I'm not willing, I'm not asking or willing to be paid. You see, TB, if I'm going to do the outreach work for Sensorica, I'm going to do it because wow, Sensorica has a really interesting proposal as as an organic organization, a decentralized one, and I really feel identified by it, and I can access any type of resources anytime that I want, right? But you see, guys, I'm just splashing this alongside with what TB just said, because for you guys to understand how we're in the same empathic spectrum, in the same peer-to-peer movement spectrum, in the same regenerative movement spectrum, but we have uh, really different ways to do this work, right? And we're trying to see how we can bridge this together. And a way to bridge this together, we fought that out in the last touchdown, was to take a look at Gitcoin and do something together in Gitcoin environment. So that was our, let's say, what we came up as a way to start to do something together, right? But that doesn't mean that we can do this outreach work, right? We can. That doesn't mean that Atos can do this, I can do this, Guilherme can do this, right? Or even TB, you can come to energize a row in Utopia, like Lauren can energize a row in Utopia, like even Anthony can do this, or be a co-creator of Tao Dao, right? So I know this is very confusing, but that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to do something that it makes things accessible for everyone, and we don't have such let's say, we because we have a trust, we want to create this trustworthy environment, right? That's it. But Guilherme, you just put your hand up, so
Yeah, let's hear from Guilherme.
Guilherme.
Yes,
Can you hear us?
thank you, Vinny. Thank you, Anthony and Tiberius, for the presentation as well. Helped me a lot to understand what's going on. I have some, hearing Vinicius saying, it came up to me that this whole idea, it's a very utopia. It's kind of where we want to be, where we want to go. But for me, it's not that close to reality, since I mean, talking Brazil, right? Brazil, we have the major population with no money at all. So telling them to, oh, you can access this free environment, and you may not be paid for it. For me, it's very strange, because in here specifically, and I have a lot of privileges for the social class that I'm in, from a family and all stuff like that, for all the background that I didn't have nothing to do with it, and just born with it. I have this condition to talk about this. But what about the others who can't? You know, what about the others who cannot, who doesn't have this privilege to access this? How can we go out of our bubble and spread the word among other bubbles, So this is what I first thought about Vinicius' speech. And Tiberius, I have two questions for you. What kind of stuff we need to do as Utopia to join Sensorica's ecosystem? And what kind of I don't know, fees you have, or it's just participation, and feel free to join, feel free to access everything we have, but in exchange we will charge you a little. I don't know how these normal clubs, how these normal features works. I'm very curious about it. And the second one, do you have any venture in the ecosystem who already runs on blockchain, who already has a digital currency as a cryptocurrency in this ecosystem? Because Utopia is willing to do it. We're willing to launch the Oz token, and eventually we'll be listed on, I don't know, CoinMarketCap or something like that. Not exactly it, but just to have a view of it.
Yeah,
that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. For the first question, you don't have to join anything. I mean, we try to stay away from that member thing. Okay, you join Facebook and you're a member of Facebook. You join Twitter, you're a member of Twitter. We try to stay away from that. We don't use the word member, we use the word affiliate. So we affiliate. We develop relations based on affiliation that we have. Okay. Now Sebastian, he has Proofing Future. That's his own creation. This is his environment. That's his planet. Now, when he works with Sensorica, so he works with. It's not you're not you're not a member of Sensorica. You're affiliated with people within this environment. Okay, so when he works with other Sensoricans within this environment, well, there are some local rules, meaning he has to log time. He has to log time. Okay, meaning he has to leave some trace in this environment. Let me show this. Sebastian has to leave some trace in this environment. So he has an account here on the NRP. He has to leave some trace. Why? Because that's the way the environment works. But he's not we don't consider him like a member of, you know what I'm saying? But he puts data into this system. Let me find Sebastian here. Okay. Okay. he puts data here, so he has contributed to these things, and you can see all his contributions here. Okay. So he puts data into the system because that's the way things go in this environment. Okay, it doesn't mean he's a member of something. It doesn't mean he has joined religiously something, a cult. Okay, he has his own stuff, and he interacts with other people within the Sensorica environment. And one of the rules of this interaction, one of the rules of this protocol, okay, is that you put information somewhere, you log some stuff. Why we do that? Just because we want? No, it's because when we get money from a sponsor for this project, first of all, okay, we want to show him how we spend the money. Somebody has dropped $16,000 into this project. It's a professor at the university. Okay, he's a professor at the university, and he took his money from the university, and he put it into this network. Okay, he put $16.4 thousand into the network. Okay, so we offer him information about how this is spent. More than that, we as peers want to see what everybody's doing and how well. Okay, we don't want to have a boss. We don't want to have a boss that knows everything about activities. We want everybody to see what's going on. So we put information out there for everybody to see. Okay, so this is how we coordinate among ourselves. We have a bag of money, and we have people working, and we have them. Well, how do they take money out of the bag? How do they take money out of the bag? And one of the rules is, well, you got to put information somewhere so that everybody knows what you have done. Otherwise, you can't just pull money out of the bag. We pull money out of the bag only if you contribute something to the venture. That's the agreement that we have. Okay, so we say there's $16,000 in this bag. The contract here among us is that you can only pull money out of the bag if you put value into the venture. Okay, so Sebastian is putting information into the system here because this is what is required by everybody else. Okay, in order to know where the money is going. Okay, otherwise you just elect a boss and trust the boss to distribute the budget, to allocate the budget to people based on his own assessment of how people are contributing to the venture. Well, we don't want that. We don't want to have a boss that decides how to spend our money. We don't want that. We want everybody to see what everybody's doing. So one, it's for us to be able to co-manage this thing in a peer-to-peer way. Okay, somebody that puts the hand in the back to take the money, they have to prove that they have done something for the community. That's the contract. Okay, and then so we need that for us, and we need that for the people that give us money. Why do they trust us? Because we offer them that transparency. Okay,
there's no fee.
So yeah. So you're not joining Sensorica. We have that. Sebastian is not a member of, but there is a protocol. That's the protocol. Every interaction has a protocol. So if Sebastian wants to interface with other people within the Sensorica environment, they have to use the protocol. You have to put information here so you can get the money, right? And now, is there a fee for Sensorica? There is no fee. There's no fee because there is no owner of the platform. That belongs to people. Okay, so there is no fee even to come to use the Sensorica lab. If you work on projects of other Sensoricans, if you collaborate on other Sensoricans project, you don't have to pay any rent at the lab. You can just come here and, you know. But if you wanna use the environment in an extractive mode, okay, if you want to use the environment in an extractive mode, meaning you come here at the lab, you set up your computer, you come here every day, you consume electricity, you use the internet and all that, well, then you have to pay something in return. So then there is a rule for you to say you're going to pay $50 per month just to come here every day. Okay, but if you contribute to projects, it's your lab, as is my lab, as is anybody else's lab. The same thing with the you know, so we're not a co-op. You don't become a member of Sensorica as you become a member of a co-op. We're not a co-op. We're not a corporation. We're a network. We're like Bitcoin. We're a permissionless network. If you mine with us, you have access to plug in. That's the way it is. And all this logging stuff and this is part of the protocol. It's like you want to be part of Bitcoin network and you want to mine stuff. Well, you have to agree to use this protocol. You can't just come there with a computer and decide to mine however you want. We all share a protocol. That's how peer-to-peer networks are established. There is no peer-to-peer network without a shared protocol, right? So the shared protocol in Sensorica is log your time, describe what you do, blah, blah, blah. You know, we have a protocol. And if you mine, you don't pay membership fees because you're a miner. You're adding computing power, mental power to the network. So you don't have to pay any membership. You're not paying any membership to be a miner of Bitcoin, right? You expect to be rewarded as being a miner of Bitcoin, not to pay. So
wait a second. Are you telling it's not a cult or a Ponzi scheme? What do you do? Okay, so it's a network. Okay. But the next question was, is there anything that involves the blockchain that is within the Sensorica umbrella? Is the holochain thing part of that, or what was holochain again?
Yeah, so we've been waiting. So we don't have a token for ourselves. What you can say is that, you know, there is a parallel between Sensorica and Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a total digital service, okay, and it manipulates digital assets, okay, which are the tokens. So if you mine, you're contributing to the network's activity and you're rewarding these tokens. Sensorica, the parallel is that there's the same architecture, but we operate in the physical world. So we have a physical lab, and when you mine with a hammer. You're not mining in a virtual space with a computer for minting tokens. You're actually minting, you know, you're minting like real stuff. Okay, so you know, people are miners in a Sensorica environment because they think and they make designs and they make prototypes. But the architecture it's kind of there's a similarity, right? We don't have our own cryptocurrency because material peer production it's a very tough thing to do. And so you need validators, you need oracles. Like, how do I know that somebody was in the lab doing something? I know if my computer contributes to the mining pool because all the computing activity is traceable in the digital environment. But how do you know from Brazil that somebody was at the Sensorica lab doing something? You know, so in order to have this trustless environment, let's say you need some, you know, you have the proof of work. Well, how do you do that in the physical environment? So it's not easy to have a sort of, but we're working with Holochain, talking to them, and we believe that this Sensorica environment should live on something like Holochain. And then we are thinking about some form of tokens, let's say, some form of tokens for Sensorica, but we don't, at this moment, we don't have a sort of a block. We don't have a blockchain for Sensorica. We don't have a token for Sensorica, and we don't run smart contracts like on Ethereum or something like that. But that's the future, migrating towards that. And we think the best way to build it is with Holochain because it's highly scalable. And And is threefold, can we do something on threefold? I don't know, bring it out. Can we move this environment on threefold for content hosting and management? Maybe, I don't know, you know.
Yes, I was about to asking you, where are you hosting the platform, the Sensorica platform?
Yeah, so the requirement for this environment is easy access. because if you don't have easy access, if everybody doesn't have access, then you create a priest cast, you create some people, some admins. Okay, so let's say the Sensorica website is just hosted with Google because everybody has access to Google. Okay, and we use tools that are the website is doesn't look very sleek and very modern. Why? Because the more modern the website looks, the more skills you need to manage the content, and so that it's a barrier to participation. Okay, we don't want people that cannot. We don't want to put barriers in front of people to create content on the website. The website is a shared environment, and so by increasing the level of sophistication, increasing the level of skills that you need to change a picture on a website, for us that's not decentralization. You see, so that's why we use the lowest common denominator when it comes to technology. So it's like, what is the thing that everybody knows how to do? Okay, so there's a lot of people that have proposed like better user interface, better website, better things, better that. If 99% of the people working with Sensorica don't know how to do that, it's like it's not worth it, because then already the way it is, very few people create content.
I think that's a good strategy. I think it's
yeah,
a wise approach.
But already the way it is, very few people create content. Now, if you put barriers in front of them, it's gonna be very taxing.
Yeah, I just realized a thing. I just realized that all the things that we have been talking through the Wealth Transfer Initiative touchdowns, that is the, let's say TB is the frontier of what Sensorica can evolve to, in a sense, to be more organic and less structured, less organizational, in a sense that Taldaus already is, right, as an experiment, is very disruptive for Utopia's culture still, because Utopia's culture is still very is in its embryonic stage, right? And but it has this let's say hybrid organizational thing, and seeking some more interactive and organic way dynamics to do things, to make things happen, but it's still very centralized. It still has some very not high degree, but has some degree of centralization, right? So in this sense, what I'm perceiving here through the feedback that Guilherme did and Atos did is that Sensorica's environment would be the benchmark, let's say, for what Utopia in this initial embryonic stage that it's already in needs to experience, right? I might be wrong, but I'm having this feeling, because if Taudao today, TB, is something that it's very interesting to see if it can happen within Sensorica environment, right? The way that Taudao does the mutual access, the conscious access thing, I think that the way that Sensorica works is actually is a good benchmark for Utopia now.
Yes.
Actually, I'm just realizing this now. It's interesting how I didn't realize that was necessary to have this encounter here, for you to explain how you explain how Sensorica works, and how I know how Utopia is actually being organized, to see how Sensorica is actually the benchmark for how Utopia can become more decentralized. Do you guys agree with me, Guilherme and Atos?
I don't know if it's the benchmark, but what we have here is like we resonate on some principles, but we operate differently, and they're both valid. You know, because Vinny, I think, you know, when you walk into a Buddhist town in Tibet, you're not gonna have a gun with you like a cowboy, right? Because you know that the culture there is that if you drop your wallet, somebody will run after you to tell you that you dropped your wallet, right? But if you walk in the middle of, I don't know, some dangerous Philadelphia, okay, well, you cannot expect to, you know, to walk around with big gold chains because somebody might just pull it off you. Okay, so what I'm trying to say here is that Sensorica has evolved like that because we're working with engineers that we're borrowing people from capitalism. Okay, we're not this secluded Buddhist village in the mountains of Himalaya. We are right downtown in Montreal, and we work with people that come from the capitalist economy, because we need somebody right away. We have a project, somebody pays us, and we need to do a design, and we need to deliver within a few months. So we don't have time to grow a culture and accustom people to our culture. We have to borrow these skills from the environment, which is capitalism. So then you have a lot of sharks that come and say, oh, there is $16,000 a year. How can I get some of that? You know, because the culture is not settled. I think the way Tao Dao works is to show us the pure aspect of it. You know, can one day nurture this culture in Sensorica, and maybe the environment will change, and we will not need to wear a gun with us to protect our commons, right? We will not need to have these rules and these checks and balances and these proofs, you know, for every time somebody takes a penny from the common pool. You know, I think they're both valid, but one of them is made to work in Bronx, you know, in the middle of the jungle, and the other one is made to work with people that already understand the culture. You see, one of them is made to have projects that are technical, that are rotate very fast, and we need to deliver 6 months from now. So we don't have time to find the right engineer that has the proper skills and the proper culture. You know what? We'll take you just if you have the skills, okay? Because we need to get this done fast. We don't have time to massage the culture, you know. So that's why we have these rules in place, so that we can deal with that guy too. You know, we can deal with a thief engineer. You know what I'm saying? We can deal with that case. There's people that have come to the Sensorica lab, and you know, they abuse the system, and that's why we came up with rules, right? Because they were running the business from the lab without paying any rent. So at some point we had to figure out how to kick these people out, because you know, at some point you have no space for you, because you have so many people that are just running their business from the lab without paying rent. It's like, you know, that doesn't make sense, because we're in the middle of the city and rent is expensive, and it's a high commodity. So people come and, oh, we can go to Sensorica and have access to the internet and don't have to pay the rent. We just bullshit that, you know, we're collaborative. You know, so we had to adapt anyway, but they're both good. And so I think Gitcoin, I think, going full circle to that, I think would be a good initiative. So we have financing there and something to share. We have content production, because in order to have a good campaign for crowdfunding, you need a nice video, you need a nice, you know, you need something nice, you need graphics, you need this and that. So it blends Utopia with the content production and the methodology of producing that content, which is very peer-to-peer like Sensorica. So there's a match there, with some funding that we can share, you know, with some projects that have high impact. I think would be a nice sandbox for us to, you know what I'm saying, to get something.
Totally. That's what. But you see, I think it was necessary to do what we're just doing, because just to level up the understanding of Guilherme and Atos about what we're doing here, right? So why we're here doing this first work party, right? and that's it. Well, I don't know if Laurin wants to just drop her 2 cents in this first round of conversations that we're doing here in this first work party, or not, or just stay in the background hearing as she likes to do so. But it would be nice, Laurin. Do you want to? I don't know. I'm feeling you more blonde. I don't know. Are you more blonde?
But
I'm
I
feeling you more.
am.
Yes, you're more blonde. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know how to like make a little speech, but since I've been here, I've been like um forming like a larger meme out of these little things, trying to put them together because what I've been doing research, I've been doing business research on Niger. My husband is from Niger, and trying to put together a solar solution for off-grid communities. So these are like little communities which really don't have access to anything. So they need like a solution which is kind of self-containing, like off-grid solution of solar and internet. And what usually happens is like these World Bank kind of entities roll in with this really advanced technology. They're like, here, poor people, here are solar panels. And then, like a few years later, the, NGO or World Bank, they're long gone, and they have these like crusty solar panels that like pigeons are pooping on, and they don't work. Like whatever medical things or whatever machinery does not work, and they have like fancy parts from Germany that could, and they're in the middle of like Zinder, Niger, like in some village that you can't get spare parts. So I am kind of imagining like a new kind of development meme. So what happens in these like places like, I know, in Brazil or Niger, these places you have these development memes. Like before was kind of these neoliberal memes of IMF and World Bank and how everything should work, and it all goes according to their current meme that they're running off of. And I just thought, maybe it's time we really spent some um effort to get a meme of open innovation and what it might look like for these communities to leapfrog and not go step by step like they're supposed to through this economic development, but leapfrog to like just like go past like post-capitalist kind of era. And what would that look like? And what it seems like it's emerging is like, from Anthony's 3D printer, we kind of imagine this like open source repertoire of things that people could make that were low tech in terms of the materials. So they don't have these like super high tech materials based on what they could actually use around them, or fashion, or make simply. But then the technology is like abstracted away in the collective intelligence. So maybe like my idea is like a town could, even if they were off grid and rural, they could have like a solar installation and a 3D printer and the really advanced technology. In terms of, they might have just a mobile phone, a simple mobile phone, and have things that they could do and access, like projects that they could access that actually had packed in like a lot of intelligence into them, like maybe a business plan for, doing this little thing, like starting all kinds of businesses that they could start, where it was like kind of like pop up in a box, kind of like, do you have these materials and access to these things? Okay, well, you can do this plan. And if you started to do the plan, it would just tell you what you needed, give you access to like people across the world who were also doing this plan, and then it would incorporate the learnings from each person and say, oh, if you have this problem, here's a solution that has been tried before. And so I just kind of imagined that we could use this collective intelligence after maybe 3 years. You would have just like a whole host of super easy to follow plans and some kind of way to collect the data between these people to see what worked and where and whatever. But I think it could get smarter and smarter and start having kind of predictive mechanisms that would actually lead to a lot of more I was just thinking because I'm trying to make a plan for basically unbanked people. And with unbanked people, banks don't want to loan to them because they don't necessarily have collateral or a history of credit. So I'm trying to think of creative ways of making it so that banks could feel basically to de-risk these projects so the banks could feel like, okay, we're feeling good about loaning to this person even though they don't have collateral because maybe they're following a plan which works 90% of the time or something like that. And yeah, so that banks would basically be more likely to loan this money to people who don't have the collateral. As a community, there could be like community things that people could do, again, like pop up out of the box, like that have worked in other communities around the world, that could maybe even a community could start with doing a project, and they could show, even if they don't like have any money, they could do a communal project, be successful at that, and show that they have like this kind of community spirit and organization, that banks would be like, okay, well, you did that project and you were successful, so maybe we'll loan you this like starter fund to buy these solar panels so that you could do another project, get more money, and then start small and kind of go bigger. But that way you could have these communities that were able to make things and repair things, and you wouldn't have that problem of like this technology that was just laying around and no one knew what to do with. You would have like technology starting with basic stuff, but like in all corners of the world. So we had this discussion about the Gambiarra, the MacGyver, and how there are people all over the world who are making do with like almost nothing, but they're so ingenious, but they have no way to diffuse this they're like super creative Gambiarra technology, that they found the solution. They've like put bubble gum and duct tape and made the solution that is only there and can't spread. So this is like a technology to spread these like little solutions and then coagulate them to try to and then I added the like system D, which was the idea of like, instead of kind of game B, or like white people in eco villages like creating new things for people to follow, it's like people around the world just kind of like making do with what they have, and really these kind of like engineers who aren't educated formally, but are really creative. So it's just like coming into this meme, like this new kind of development, like this open source development meme where we can take kind of the Sensorica open value network and kind of teach people and then how to in using those tools to see who's done what, and then also add stuff like kind of combined technologies. Like what I'm looking at in Niger is looking at, okay, so people are doing this kind of like old school agriculture, but they're in a desert. So why aren't they using like Israeli drip irrigation? And how could they, do we have to like import that stuff? Could they, is there anything that they could make with, say, Anthony's like 3D printer? If something broke, do they have to order the part from Israel and have like a truck drive up to their remote village? Like how do we like construct these things that could be way easier and um, a more localized supply chain? And
Is this a
or-
WISP thing or what is
no, no, no. I'm just kind of thinking this in my mind. Wisp was just like a little project for we were applying for a grant. So I'm kind of in between projects right now. But
seems
yeah,
like
I just wanted to throw that out there because I've just been listening and kind of integrating this and seeing
Yeah,
like how does this all work together, and like because
you're
I feel like it's converging onto like a
yeah,
larger meme.
you're weaving in a very interesting way all the things here, Lauren. And I would say that this bankless people in Niger and here in Brazil, there are a lot of bankless people here in Brazil too. Uh, they too don't have a good internet access because it's still a it's very expensive to have a good internet access.
Mhm.
Most of them are very prepaid. Here in Brazil is prepaid access. You pay a little bit to access a little bit, and you don't. People at large don't have the money to be 24/7 uh, uh, plugged in the internet here in Brazil, right? So mostly here in Brazil is prepaid. So what you just described, and I can imagine that that happens in Niger too, right? So most of that you described is very interesting because one of the things that Utopia is going to start to do here in Brazil is to expand this Web 3.0 dynamics via nodes, by nodes, where people in communities, in grassroots communities, in tribes, in countryside, they will have internet access, but they won't pay the they won't need to pay what they have to pay to the corporate internet access, right? Via operators and things like that. So uh, this is very interesting. And you see, to do this together in an environment, in a platform like Gitcoin, it makes it more interesting. So use these open source decentralized ways, this OVN way that Sensorica does the job to prototype open source ventures and projects, right? Use the way that Utopia is going to spread Web3 here in Brazil. We can do that, of course, in Niger too. Uh, but of course, it's going to be very different how we're going to do here in Brazil, right? Because there are different realities, but it's not the same thing. And having the equipment, having the technology that Anthony is trying to prototype, the manufacturer from, is it makes all this conversation very interesting, very interesting. And it's and for me is the first step for us to blueprint something to do together, right? For me is the first way to blueprint what we have been talking about and all these touchdowns about wealth sharing and wealth transfer and things like that. I don't know if you folks agree with me, but that's how what Lauren just did for us here, weaving all these things in a very interesting way together. For me, makes it more clear how we can work. We can start to work together in a uh, really interesting and a very relevant way that not only for us but for anyone, right? Especially those that doesn't have those that are in the need to generate different kinds of wealth and health and wealth, right? So that's the way that I'm perceiving it. I don't know if you guys are perceiving it in a different manner, but I'm perceiving what we're doing here with this first work party right now, this way.
How does this relate to Gitcoin again? I thought that was our subject.
Yeah, we're going to talk. I don't know if you guys are very. We talk a lot, right? But I don't know if you guys are already very. Oh my gosh, I'm tired. Because we can just make me and Atus. We can just share the Atus, do this. Atus, you share the Gitcoin platform, and we can talk a little bit of how it works for Anthony to understand, for Loudon to understand, and for for TB to understand, and Guilherme to understand too, because it's something new to Guilherme too. And I think that we can start. So, well, first of all, Gitcoin is has a profound relationship with GitHub. Uh, in what sense? You guys know GitHub, right? Anthony Dev knows GitHub. Anthony, do you know GitHub?
Yeah, I know GitHub. I've used it many times. Yeah.
Yeah. Tiberius knows GitHub.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know GitHub, Laurie?
Yeah, I'm also a member of Kernel, which is a kind of like social hub sponsored by Gitcoin. It's like their kind of incubator.
Yeah. So let's put it this way. Gitcoin is a type of fork of GitHub. It's not a fork, okay? It's a kind of fork. It's it's very related to the Ethereum, let's say, blockchain universe. At least in the beginning. Now it's not so much, but at least in the beginning was very related to smart contracts and the blockchain Ethereum universe. Okay, that's the first thing, and it's very related to expand, to create infrastructure, and to create culture around Web 3.0. Okay, this decentralized web. So this is the second point. The third point, they want to create commons public goods. Commons public goods. All sorts of commons public goods. Okay, that's the this is are the main principles and the main drivers for the Gitcoin environment, right? But they are already creating all sorts of DeFi, decentralized finances, in this platform, and they are creating all sorts of dApps, right? All sorts of decentralized applications, and they are creating. When I say they are, is not they are in the sense that folks that own Gitcoin's platform. No, I'm saying everyone that's interested to co-create dApps, co-create the infrastructure of Web3, and in a very decentralized, autonomous organization way, in a very DAO way, right? So this is the essence, let's say, of what is Gitcoin. But it's always a platform where developers, where devs can do their job, can scoop up bounties, participate in hackathons. There's a lot of hackathons happening, and can even micro invest, can contribute for all sorts of proposal to get to life, right? All sorts of DAOs to get to life. Web 3.0 DAOs get to life, right? So I think that's the essence of what is Gitcoin, right? And I don't know if Atus want to add something of What you could, Atos, just navigate a little bit and show every part of Gitcoins and make some commentary. I can do some commentary with you.
Actually, I must confess I have to explore more. Like I have to explore Bitcoin better. But I think one thing I can add to your comment is it's about the cryptocurrency. Um, how am I supposed to say? Bitcoin, as it seems to me, they achieved a great point of making good things with cryptocurrency, because with their approach, they we can get funding about in many currencies, in using smart contracts, using, and you just connect our wallet, and we have to expose our project here, and it's like it works like a crowdfunding, something like that, but with crypto. And well, crypto world is it's the future. We're just in the beginning.
Hey guys, we have Florian here. Hey Florian.
Hey guys,
Hey, Florian.
Yeah, good
how
to
are
have
you?
you
Hey,
here.
B,
Hello,
Yeah.
very good.
Anthony, what's up? Lauren,
Coucou.
salut.
So Florian, what are you up to again? What's your big project that you tend to work on?
Sorry,
Oops. Oh no. Florian disappeared on us.
sorry, I didn't understand.
So Florian, are you able to, can you introduce yourself a little bit? Like, I'm sure I've seen you around a number of times, but I forget what your big project was. Like, I
Yeah,
know
so
Utopia and Tao Dao is what Vinicius is up to, and
yeah, it's Utopia. It's Utopia.
is it
He's
OTP too?
yeah,
Okay,
he's one.
Yeah,
He's a co-initiator. He's an initiator and co-initiator of Utopia as a whole.
okay, that's great.
yeah. No, happy to be here. Actually, I saw that there was this link, so I jumped to say hi. Not sure exactly what's the purpose of this encounter, but I'm very happy that we're doing this connection, and that wealth transfers and wormholes below Americas are ongoing. So it's good that I hope that we're digging well. And no, I've been working with, I've been energizing with here with the team and with Vinicius, Atus, Guy, and all the rest of the team. We've been energizing Utopia, so building this dynamic to accelerate exchange of knowledge and inspiration regarding regeneration in general, and valuing it, giving it value through a marketplace and a common exchange of goods, services, and currency in that ambient. And all this being hosted on Web3 and being hosted on digital self technology, with one single digital identity for each participant, and all the different elements of this project being hosted on the house, on the little house that each of us will have in this people's internet. So that's what we've been working on. But I'm sure you already had this introduction by the others, so maybe it's being a bit repetitive.
No, it's always good to have another because you see, Atos talk about it. Guilherme didn't talk about it. Guilherme can talk about it. I talk about it a lot, but it's always good to have a fresh new perspective. So it adds to the imagination, to the realization what is utopia, right? For everyone
So
here.
you can see that none of us agrees on what it is. So at least it's a real DAO. It's a true DAO. It's like
Yes.
That's funny.
nobody has the same definition. So we're on the good way. It's a good sign.
Totally.
It'll be something
We all
better.
agree, we disagree.
Yes. Yes, that's it. Well, you see, guys, we spent a lot of time with Florian today talking about Anthony's marvelous proposal of the manufacturetron, right? I'm going to be able to say that at full sometime. And and Chibi make shared with us a beautiful deep dive in Sensorica's dynamics. So to put to level up the understanding of what is Sensorica for Guilherme and for Atos, right? So we have been doing this. Thanks, Chibi. I know that you're exhausted, but you done well, my friend. And when you came up here, when you just hop in, we were starting to talk about Gitcoin, right? And the environment of Gitcoin, and Atos was starting to navigate through the environment, and we were going to talk about each thing. And but I think that we already done a lot of talking here and a lot of sharing here. I think folks are already a little bit tired. It's almost 3 hours here, Florian, that we're talking here. Yes, 3 hours, man.
Oh, marathon.
Yes, a marathon. It's a hackathon. It's an OO hackathon, right? It's a OO Sensorica hackathon. And the nice thing is that Lauren that is here just weave in a very elegant way how we can
Yeah.
we can interwoven all the things here: Sensorica, Manufacturetron, and Utopia, and the environment that her husband is going to be working with. That is a country, is Niger, in the African continent. So it's very interesting. I'm not
We can
going
stand
to
to talk
ask.
more about that too,
Yes,
actually.
I'm not going to ask to Laurie to do this again, but it's very interesting how she interwoven everything in a very nice way, and I think that we actually had as an initial step a very good first work party, uh, but of course we need to deepen, right? And we're going to have the Gitcoin environment to deepen this relationship between us, right? And I would ask if you guys feel that that is good. We could do this Friday now. We don't have to do another touchdown. We can do another work party. We can do this Friday now, and where we could really deepen into Gitcoin environment and understand how we can bundle up all these things together there, right? Uh, when I say bundle up, I say like via Utopia, we're going to do a hackathon with communities. We're going to have a very good participation in bounties and hackathons in Gitcoin's environment, and it's going to be interesting to see how can we interwoven Sensorica in this and interwoven Manufacturetron in this, right? And having this background that Lauren gave to us. So I think this is a first step. I might be wrong. It would be nice to hear TB and Anthony and Lauren about this, but I think that it was as a first step for us to blueprint what we've been calling, as Florian knows, as ecology of DAOs. To blueprint this, it would be nice to have the feedback from you guys.
Can I say something about all this?
Yeah, of course, man. Come on.
So I don't know, it sounds like you're proposing that we float a new project on Gitcoin, but I'm not sure I'm ready to do that because I do have my hands full of a lot of other stuff. I'm doing the Greens for Good a little bit. I've got about 4 different projects to make a living for my own thing, including Manufacturetron. But talking about what Lauren was getting at seems to be a fairly efficient thing to do. I mean, it's something we can definitely do, and it helps broaden our minds. And there might be a project that comes out of that. I'm just thinking the economy in general. I've read that it's described as the sum of all the things that people are doing that are useful, right? It's just a sum of all labor. And so it's not surprised that Utopia and Sensorica and Manufacturetron all play into that, right? But I wouldn't limit it to poor countries like Niger, because or Brazil, it makes some sense because you are in Brazil, right? So you know a lot about Brazil, and is it one of the other guys here is from Brazil too, right? I think, but yeah, manufacturing downtown doesn't fit in well with a situation like Niger, because although the machine might be only $10,000, it also needs a building inside that it's inside of, and it needs like a lot of electricity and stuff like that to run. So you're not sure what is in that, but like undoubtedly some of these other ideas, there's a lot of gold to be found there. Further thinking on that subject, with these business models that would be ready to go, for instance, it seems like that's a pretty good win. Even in a developed country, like I'm in Cornwall here, and I don't have any good business models I could grab if I needed to just start a little company and make a living. Yeah, that's all I have to say on that subject.
Okay, but you see, first of all, Anthony, all the things that we're going to do Gitcoin related,
Okay.
we're not going to do in a solo way, right? Like you're going to be overwhelmed with a lot of demands and things like that. No, we're going to do in this environment, this very open environment where folks can come up with us and do things with us. So it's not to overwhelm you with nothing. It's really is it's on the contrary. We're going to do this in a very open way, right? So that's it. The invitation still stands. Okay. So if you want to come up, of course we're going to focus on Brazil here. Of course, of course. What Lauren just add is because her husband is heading to Niger. He is from Niger, and it's going to be nice to have these two different realities interwoven together too. But okay, we can start from Brazil because we're here in Brazil and we're already going to do this, right? So the invitation still stands, man. So if you want, please, we're going
Yeah,
to
sure. I'd
talk
love to
this.
come to the meetings. I'm just saying, yeah, I have a lot else to do already, and I'm not sure if I want to take on much more.
Okay.
But I'm not sure if that's what you're getting at.
Can I just say something about the Gitcoin grant?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
So what's interesting about it is that it's meant for little groups to be able to raise money by um, inviting their supporters in community to make mini grants of like $5. So like my friend from um Dow, what was that? What was Jen Dow? Anyway, he had this thing, and Luke had this thing in uh Curacao or whatever, and so he said, "Oh, will you donate to this?" And he actually, I couldn't figure out how to use um the what is it called, the you have to download this kind of wallet thing to make a donation, but he sent me $5 so I could donate, because when I donated, then that turned into $20 for him. So even though he gave me $5, because I couldn't figure out how to upload money to my account, which is super difficult in crypto, it made it easier for me to just give him his $5 back, and then he did. So anyway, I think if we had like a competent mathematician analyze the way that the thing is structured, I think we could get a group of people who already had like Gitcoin. It's not that difficult to set up your Gitcoin grant, but if we had a whole community of like 100 people who would swarm together, and we had like a little pot of money of like a few $1,000s or something, and then like swarmers, each time someone had their Gitcoin grant up, we could find the exact right way of doing that, like with the math, because it's not just like there's like a curve, so that with like, you know, at the first 20-30 people or something, it's like times 4, then you get more people, then it's times 3, and then it eventually just kind of like goes down, so it's like they match it like times 2 or you know, times 1.5. So there's some mathematical formula that no one has yet figured out, but that we could actually take some intelligence and do, so that we could get the communities who are already on there, or like our own communities, and support each other at some optimal rate to get the maximum amount of money. So I was able to raise money for a friend of mine, Daniel Harris, who had a Bitcoin grant, and we were able to raise like $1,000 in about 5 or 10 minutes. But any more than that wouldn't have raised as much, because then it, like, you know, starts going down. So we need someone to kind of like analyze, and not me, because I am not good at math, but we need someone
TB is good
to
at
like,
math.
what?
But I'm not sure if TB is good at math, but I'm not sure if you need math much here. It's just like you just get the 35 donors and then you move on to the next project and get another 35 donors. So that would be the optimal return, right? On your money.
Yeah, I think we need someone though to see what would the optimal return be, and how many people we needed, and how many people we needed to do each thing. So a plan like that would be great, because then we can actually write a report and say, okay, if we had this many people, we could take this money, $2,000, and then we could actually use it to raise, I don't know, $20,000, and so we could like run the numbers. I don't know. I wouldn't even know how to begin.
We might get accused of gaming the system. We have to be.
Yeah, of course. It's meant to create an ecosystem, and
Yeah,
that's
Yeah,
what
but
we
you're not
keep
supposed to be just using the
doing.
money you get to put it back into the system and amplify the same money over and over again, I'm pretty sure. It's supposed to be supporting real world projects that actually.
It's a match funding, man. It's a match funding dynamic.
We're working together as an ecosystem. Well, they should have thought of that.
Yeah, of course.
Yes. It
But you
reminds me
see,
of my friend when I was a kid. It was in the early days of advertisement for clicks, and he was a hacker, and he made a computer system that clicked the same link many times, and he got advertising revenue from the thing. He got $1,400 from doing that, and nobody believed him. Anyway,
but
it
you
was
see,
legal. It was legal.
the thing is that this dynamics that Laurent just shared, yeah, that's the way that Gitcoin's match funding works, and they are very keen about SIBO attacks. They are very keen
What's a
about
civil
where well, like you try to extract. You have a extract relationship with the platform, right? You try to extract a lot of money for your project, try to hack it out or things like that. So they have a very keen dynamics and process to see if you're not a bot, if you're not, you have duplicity of profiles, if you're just the person that you say that you are, and I think it's very efficient. It works in the practical way. So I agree totally, Lauren, with you, and we can discuss this in depth now Friday. We can do a work party to discuss this and come up with a strategy, right? A better strategy. But that's it. I don't know if any one of you. I see that Tib is already going to sleep. He's very tired, and so I think that it was a very good first work party. Anthony and TB, Laurin, Guilherme, and Atos was. I think that we really had a better notion of what we're doing here together, and this Friday now we can deepen this. So if you want to add, if you folks want to add any other observations, we can close up this first work party of us. And
but for Friday we might want to decide on something to just to get our hands dirty on, like a fund the project or something. You know what I'm saying? Fund an initiative. might be
Sounds like
one
a
that
worthwhile
exists already, or something that we think we can do together. Maybe something for Nigeria that involves Utopia and Sensorica helping that out somehow. You
Yeah.
know,
Sure,
Yeah.
I'm game for that.
it's just to
Yeah.
get something to practice on.
That's
Let's
it.
be concrete, huh?
Yeah, totally. And the another thing is that independently this movement that we're doing together and the Gitcoin environment, you see, Florian, we talked today to generate more proximity between Sensorica and Utopia, right? And Utopia. And in this sense, we're going to start to understand how people, Sensoricans, can come to energize a role in Utopia, and how people related to Utopia can jump in projects that Sensorica is doing. So we're going to start to do this movement together in this to co-create this common environment, right? So that we can access multiple resources, we can work together, like it's already happening with Taodao, right? So this is another movement that we're going to do together. So
So actually, Vinny, you know,
we're going to start
I
with OCast experience, right? And we ready to talk about
yes, but you know, I showed you how we worked with Sebastian and with Proofing Future. Why don't we start doing that with another Sensorica project that has budget for outreach? So we can put the whole machinery in place. So we have a new
great.
project. We have a budget for that project. We can make a video, transfer money to Utopia, the people that do the video and all that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course. Let's do that.
Yeah, because Greens for Good now has no more money for outreach. We spent the budget for the first outreach wave, let's say, but the rope maker has money for outreach because it's just starting. So we can start making a splash video using
And
Utopia.
What project is it? What project is it?
It's to make a machine to make ropes from recycled plastic. Ropes that fishermen can use in villages. So you have villages on the border of the ocean. They can use Coke bottles to make ropes for fishing nets.
That's cool.
Yeah. So we have budget for outreach. So the same way I showed you that we worked with Proofing Future to do the interview and the text content that we published. We can do that to do media. You know. So we can have a run like that and see how it works.
Yeah.
And then like I said, we can use that video to put on GitHub, on Gitcoin, you know, as a crowdfunding video.
There is already a fisherman villages using those nets.
No, it's just there's no machine yet, right? I don't think so.
There's no. We want to make machine that makes the rope to make the nets.
Okay, so we need to we would need to produce like a crowdfunding video on this.
An outreach, yes. Talking about the project, and we can use the whole video, or we can use parts of the video. But it matches Utopia because it's people getting together and passionately talking about an open source technology that can have impact on poor villages that can feed from the sea. Yeah, without getting that feed from the sea. We're not talking about industrial fishing. We're talking about villages having the means to feed themselves from the ocean and have their own local economy based on that. And instead of
the machine is as a timeline to be ready, or it's
the project has started. We can and it's pretty virgin. We can start doing that anytime you want, guys.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like how much we can already like showcase. Maybe I was thinking of like villages that could be using it. I think anything that is going from the ideas to the real world is good.
Yeah,
because it's concrete for people to really feel it.
Yeah, well, that requires a bit of homework to be done. Like the project is in early stage.
I have to admit, I like Greens for Good a little bit more. I mean, this rope making thing, ropes aren't particularly expensive, but the machine is going to be quite expensive. It seems like it's going to be a very long payoff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, yes, but what should I say? I'm getting distracted by this call. Well, because there is no budget for Greens for Good, so we wanna do a nice example
We could,
of us working together that has the whole machinery and incentives tied to it. And some people from Utopia can experience logging their contributions into the Sensorica system. It's just as an experience, as a, okay, now I've done it. I've been there, done that. I know what it means, type of thing.
yeah, that would be good. But
yeah.
I'm just worried that we're not going to get as much contributions from Gitcoin. Like we could do it more on a mercenary basis. We say we log our contributions through the Sensorica system, but we only get paid if the Gitcoin gets a yield, right? So that way, you see what I'm saying? Like the
Well, if we create a video, it can be used in many different occasions. It's not just, I mean, we can create a video and cut it and feed it for Gitcoin, but we can also cut it and feed it for some other, because creating video Utopia, it's basically sitting around and having a passionate discussion about things, and then you cut it and paste it different ways once you have that material, and put some b-roll and put some, I don't know, some imagery, do some 3D modeling or whatever. You can insert to support the conversation, but because we want to use Utopia's production scheme, not want to go outside of that. It's like Sebastian, he doesn't write blogs, he conducts interviews and it turns that into a blog. So we went with his own methodology. We didn't tell him, can you write a story about this? No, we went with his methodology. And these are people talking about this technology, and it's almost the same thing, but it's video. If I think about it, it's almost the same thing. Somebody asking questions and somebody answering, but it's live, it's video. And then you do some editing and you insert some B-roll.
I'm just trying to think of like a solution for the lack of budget that's currently with Greens for Good. Like the budget for outreach has already been spent for Greens for Good, right?
Well, that's from the seed funding, but we're submitting for new proposals for funding. So the new money comes, we'll have new money for outreach.
I wanted to also suggest, I like that idea, TB, and to maybe fund the ecosystem project.
Someone's at the door.
Yeah.
And maybe to maybe for us to co-purchase some software. We might need some interesting software to I don't know, get video. There's some software that I've been interested in for a while that makes it super easy for people to almost like call in to this software and make their own profile video by answering questions. Because it's very hard to get like if you have people from kind of different ecosystems to get video profiles for people to talk about their projects and kind of what they're good at and what they do, and I think that would be like very beneficial for the ecosystem project of like finding grants and building up ecosystem services. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, finding more tools. Yeah, we could.
Yeah. Well, we're already in the top of the hour here. We're good final sprints, TB. Good final sprints. So we have this. Now we're going to have this experimentation with the rope project, right? And we have the Gitcoin one. So we have two things to do together. That's very nice. And of course, we're going to find out a way to better merge, right? To better merge Sensóricas and Utopia. Because Utopia, of course, is not only related to content production, we're related, as you know, to Web 3.0 expansion, right? The cultural blueprint of a decentralized organization. So there's a lot of things that we can work together, right? So it would be nice. You already done 3 OCAST experience, man. You know that. It's going to be nice to have a lot of OCAST experience related to all of this, to the rope project, to everything. So it's going to be nice. So we're just getting started here, isn't it, folks? We're just getting started. After 22 touchdowns, we're just getting started. I'm very happy. I'm very happy. We're just getting started. Well, that's it, Anthony, my friends. We're still considering Manufacturetron as part of it. So please feel invited to make this deep dive with us, okay? And thanks a lot, TB, for all the explanation that you made, and you too, Lauren, for weaving all things so brilliantly, okay? That's it. Anyone wants to just say final words? We can say goodbye.
Bye, everyone. See you on Friday. Good to see you again.
Bye,
See you
everyone.
guys. Thank you.
Yeah.
You have a good one.
Right.